You are listening to Radio Bilingüe on WBFO FM HD3 Buffalo, powered by Sin Fronteras Western New York and presented by Batavia Downs Gaming and Hotel. More information at bataviadownsgaming.com. Sin Fronteras Western New York, Buffalo's media platform for Western New York Hispanics,
producing bicultural content that informs, entertains, and inspires the forward thinking.
Sin Fronteras Western New York, delivering bilingual stories,
hot topic conversations,
and the voices from our Latino community.
Sin Fronteras Western New York,
la única producción contemporánea en español
y en inglés en la ciudad de Buffalo. Sin Fronteras Western New York,
your connection to cultural ties in Latin America
and hyperlocal news in the Western New York area.
Sin Fronteras Western New York es para ti.
Bienvenidos and welcome to yet another episode of Sin Fronteras Western New York. Thank you so much for listening to us here on 88.7 HD3 Buffalo, Radio Bilingüe, Western New York. This is Lorenzo Rodriguez, and today we're presenting to you two different segments, very informative, very enlightening. We're going to have, first off, our good friend Casimiro Rodríguez. He's sitting down with Stan Martin of No Menthol Buffalo. He's going to be followed up by two new voices from the Sin Fronteras Western New York team that you probably haven't heard from before on this program. We've got Sheana, Virella, VanDyne, and Dinorah Baines. They're going to bring to us a new segment. It's called Generaciones con Sin Fronteras. I think you guys are going to really like it. That's all coming up later on. But first, we're going to hear from Stan Martin. He's, once again, from No Menthol Buffalo. It's a great organization that's shedding light on some of the disparities of how cigarette and particularly menthol cigarettes are targeted towards minorities, brown, black folks in our community, and what they're doing to hopefully combat the targeted sale of menthol cigarettes and other flavored tobacco products, especially to our youth of color. We hope you learn a thing or two during this conversation about this tremendous public health threat. Enjoy this conversation with Kaz and Stan Martin.
Sin Fronteras Western New York on WBFO 88.7 HD3. I'd like to welcome our audience. This is Casimiro Rodríguez. We have a very special guest here today, Stan Martin. Stan Martin holds a educational background of master's in management, and he also leads Stan Martin Consulting, LLC. It's the anchor organization for the No Menthol Buffalo Youth and Community-Led Movement, funded by the Campaign for Tobacco-Free Action Fund. The No Menthol Buffalo is committed to saving lives by preventing youth from becoming the next generation of replacement tobacco users, addressing enduring tobacco co-related health disparities in Black, Latino, Hispanic, LGBTQA+ communities, and promotion of tobacco cessation services.
That's right.
Stan, welcome.
Thank you, guys. Pleasure.
Welcome to Sin Fronteras, Stan.
I'm happy to be here.
It's great to see you here.
Good to see you as well.
Stan, tell us who Stan Martin is.
Yes, thank you. I'm the son of Beulah and Leon Martin, born and raised here in the great city of Buffalo, New York. I actually went to Buffalo Public School. At that time, my high school, I went to Seneca Vocational High School. And today it's called MST. I don't know why they changed the name, but anyway, I went to Seneca Vocational High School. I actually played ball, for 4 years there. I was pretty successful at it. I would say that. And then upon graduation, I went to junior college at Broome Community College, played 2 years there, and then I finished up my college career at Stony Brook University, where once again I played basketball and had a successful career as a student athlete. And upon graduation, I came back to Buffalo, and I thought I was going to have this illustrious career in communications, but here I am on your show. So dreams do come true. But yeah, I actually landed a position. Someone thought that hey Stan, I saw this position for New York State Department of Health in terms of working with youth, impacting marginalized communities, so to speak. And I said, well, I'll give it a shot. I'll apply for it. At the time, I was with a great organization, Prevention Focus, which I spent 7 years at cutting my teeth with substance abuse prevention education. So when I was offered a position at the health department with the Bureau of Tobacco Control, that then propelled me to become the area manager for the 8 surrounding counties for youth engagement, for coalition building, advancing tobacco-free communities, as well as tobacco cessation. So, that was a time in my career that really I got involved with tobacco control really extensively, and because of our work here in New York State, like with the Clean Indoor Air Law, that went into effect, many, many years ago. For our listeners, some of them might remember when you used to be able to smoke in a restaurant, you'd be able to smoke in a bar, what have you. Well, I was a part of the movement, that initiative, that policy change that removed smoking, or that promoted the Clean Indoor Air Act that, prevented smoking in public places. But, having said that, my work then took me into Toronto, Canada. Growing up here in Buffalo, I used to go to Canada quite often on the weekend. That's another story, another show. Mm-hmm. But I had the pleasure of working on their Smoke-Free Ontario strategy, because of the success that we enjoy here in the States, and New York State in particular. So I worked abroad for almost 3 years. And then, my work permit, my work visa ran out, and I came back to the U.S. And, I, once again, continued my career in public health. So it brought me back full circle here to Buffalo, where I worked for CAI for a number of years in public health overall. And then in 2020, I then launched, Stan Martin Consulting, LLC, focusing on the projects and initiatives that was near and dear to me that I really wanted to lean forward into.
So your passion has always been, tobacco-free health, health disparities, and prevention, and tobacco prevention, and
yeah. It really has, Kaz. I just when I got involved in this work early on, there was a document that I read, and I talked about this, with a lot of people, and that is that document from the tobacco industry was from a tobacco executive, and the executive was asked, in terms of do you smoke, and the executive responded, we don't smoke. We reserve that right for the young, the black, the poor, and the stupid. And that from that point on, even to this day, 20 years later, that still, sets off a fire in me that, nah. Nah.
You got to do something.
I got to do something. You know what I mean? I can't just talk about it. I got to be about it. So I've been fighting bullies all my life. So here it is.
Your college years, were they local?
No, they was out of state. In Binghamton, New York.
Binghamton
yeah,
University.
That was in Broome Community College.
Broome Community.
Yeah, and then Stony Brook out on Long Island.
Okay.
Yeah, so most people from what they consider upstate go downstate to the New York City area, and then a lot of people from downstate from that area come upstate to Buffalo, Buff State and UB for university. Somehow that happens, but
great.
Yeah.
Thanks. Tell us about the vision of No Menthol Buffalo.
Yes, thank you. Once again, it's a pleasure being here. And the vision actually, started years ago when I began my journey in public health. I was, working for the New York State Department of Health Bureau of Tobacco Control Program. And I read some information. Read documents about how the tobacco industry targeted Black and brown communities, and that was over 20 years ago. And fast forward to today, I say, you know what? I'm getting to a point in my career and my life that I want to work on projects, on initiatives that are near and dear to me, that impact, the communities where I live, where I grew up in, et cetera. So I started Stan Martin Consulting, LLC, and I was very fortunate to receive funding, from the Campaign for Tobacco-Free Kids Action Fund to work specifically here in the city of Buffalo to eliminate and to reduce the health disparities related to menthol tobacco. So, that's been my vision ever since I got into the game 20 years ago.
Very important initiative, and a strong and very it can be controversial at times.
Right.
Because you still were, the general population is still fighting, tobacco, and everything that and the health disparities that come with that. But Stan, you've led Stan Martin Consulting and No Menthol Buffalo movement with a strong focus on addressing health disparities.
Right.
It's very evident. What inspired you to focus on tobacco-related health issues, particularly in the African American community, the Black, Latino, Hispanic, and LGBTQA plus communities?
And it goes back to your comment earlier, controversial. Why should, saving the lives of our children, be controversial? That's, that's who can't rally or get behind that? Well, I look at it like this, Kaz, you and I, we've been involved in public health and community, engagement, et cetera, for a number of years. And we always run to the fire, while many run away from it, and kind of like the firemen, so to speak. And I share that because, if we don't do it, then who will?
Yeah, right.
So I think this is an opportunity for us to step up and also to engage, to amplify the voices of our young folks, our children. Those many folks who I talk to who utilize menthol products or tobacco, they want to quit. And when they hear about our cause, when they hear about our mission, they can rally behind that because they say that, if they could stop, they would. And we recognize that it's hard to quit. And many of them, the vast majority, wish they never started. So they see this as being a part of something much larger than themselves.
You mentioned something very important there as far as engage, but who do you engage with?
Right.
You got definitely the children that you're trying to help, but who do you engage with? Who are your partners?
Yeah, that's a very, very important question because I can't do this work alone. So we're very fortunate and blessed to partner alongside the Hispanic Heritage Council, to partner with other community-based organizations on both sides of Main Street, on the east and west side of Buffalo, to really champion this effort. We also engage children. We amplify youth voices. We work with smokers and non-smokers because we're not against those who smoke or use tobacco or vape. But what we are against, and I'm sure we're going to talk about this, is the intentional marketing, of a product when used as intended, kills people. So it's very important to have those voices who have that lived experience, those who are, directly impacted and affected by it, to be engaged in that process and to be actively engaged, in this fight, in this battle, because, they have shared experiences, they have lived experiences that, are important and that, people want to, share those experiences and learn, and others can learn from them as well. So it's very important that we build that community of caring adults and engage them intentionally in this effort.
Do you do anything with the school system, with the charter schools, the Buffalo Public Schools?
Yes. Actually, earlier this week, last week Friday, I was at Buffalo Public School number 59. Charles Drew Magnet School.
That's over there at the Science Museum.
Yes, yeah. I was over there speaking to the 7th and 8th graders, to the students there, about vaping and the impact of tobacco, menthol tobacco. And also, I was very fortunate. I've been having conversations with the Health Science Charter School, working with, the teens over there, the next generation of health professionals. And we're going to be working with, hopefully, with the Inner High Council and, others in the Buffalo Public School system to really, really raise the bar on this issue, and not just build awareness and education, to create action, to be a part of the movement, in a way that, they can be really transformative in terms of what this looks like moving forward.
That interaction exposes a lot of points of view and sentiments. What are you hearing from the children, the students?
Oh, wow. I mean, mostly when we talk to students, when we, create that safe environment where they're trusting and, they're not worried about if we're trying to, like, get them in trouble or what have you, things of that nature, they're surprised about how they have been marketed. They are surprised about how they've been targeted, how they've been duped, and what have you. And when I share, one of the quotes in terms of from the tobacco executives, with students, and one of those quotes is that if you're not going to target young people, paraphrasing a little bit, then you're going to be out of business. They see and have admitted by their own documentation that they see youth as the next generation of replacement smokers or tobacco users. So when youth learn that information, they recognize and feel as if, nah, I'm not going to be no one's flunky. I'm not going to be, like bamboozled, by the tobacco industry. And then they get really excited about, pushing back and countering, the advertising and marketing tactics of the industry.
I'm familiar with a tobacco-free coalition at Roswell Park. Are you doing anything with them? As far as
Yes.
this effort?
Yes, we work very closely with the folks over there at Roswell Park. We actually the month of November is the Great American Smokeout, and we're actually going to be partnering, on a activity, on an event to build awareness about not just the harmful effects of tobacco smoke. Many people are aware of that, but also sharing information on what people can do if they want to quit, as well, because it's very hard, it's very difficult. So, once again, yes, we'll be partnering with Roswell Park, not just, during the month of November, but throughout, the duration of this initiative, this effort.
Say that again. The smoke out. What is that?
Yes, every year the American Cancer Society celebrates what they call the Great American Smokeout, and that's November 21st of this year. And what that entails, those people make a pledge either to quit for a day, for an hour, a few minutes, or even a year. The point is that they make a conscious effort to do so. Not everyone can quit cold turkey or what have you. It's very hard. It's very difficult. But at least people make they make an attempt to make an effort. So what we try and do is to provide access to resources, proactive counseling. Some people call the quit line for nicotine replacement therapy. That's the patch, the gum, or the lozenge that people can get depending upon their insurance or eligibility. That's for free. Mm-hmm. So that's one of the initiatives that we are partnering on amongst many.
Very important. How does your vision of fostering a just and equitable world shape the goals of your initiative, No Menthol Buffalo?
Yeah, I love that question. Wow, because a lot of people ask, well, what's the big deal with menthol? What's the big deal with flavored tobacco? Well, flavor menthol in particular is the flavor that attracts and addicts. It sweetens the poison. It masks the harshness. So when you look at historically, in terms of how it's been marketed and advertised, it's been predominantly advertised and marketed in Black and brown communities, the Hispanic, the Latino community, as well as the African American Black community. And as a result of that, recent data from the New York State Bureau of Tobacco Control. I know you're a data guy, and so hopefully some of our listeners are. Just recent data from the Bureau of Tobacco Control of New York State. Over 70% of those who identify as being Hispanic or Latino smoke menthol tobacco. Over 88% of African Americans and blacks who smoke menthol tobacco in comparison, to less than 30% of whites. So when we're talking about, the disparities, the intentional targeted marketing are highest, amongst those ethnic groups, those populations, and then it's even higher amongst those in terms of who make less than $25,000 a year, income wise, and then also educational attainment as well. So these are the disparities that we're talking about and trying to pull back the curtain and address. When we're talking about creating a just and equitable world, everyone should have the right or has the right to live and grow and learn and play and work, in a safe environment.
Tobacco free,
exactly.
Yeah.
So that's our work.
Leading to the next question, tobacco-related health disparities are a persistent issue in marginalized communities, black and brown. What are some of the biggest challenges you've encountered in addressing these disparities, and how does No Menthol Buffalo work to overcome them?
Wow, that's a loaded question. Some of the biggest challenges, believe it or not, stems from transitioning from awareness, education to action. And what I mean by that, the community already, we have the support of the community, of both communities, both east and west side of Buffalo, all right, including the LGBTQ community. Now where we're transitioning to in terms of action, and the biggest challenge has been with the, our elected officials, because our charge is to end the sale of menthol tobacco, all right, to remove it from the shelves. And this is something that has been done in terms of California, in terms of Massachusetts, and even as close as Canada, so it's not a matter of fact of is this something that could do that they can do here in the city of Buffalo? Yes, they can. All right. The issue that we've been told, just to fast forward some of the conversations, that we have to wait on the state. We can't supersede what the state does. New York State is saying it's not a preemptive state. So due to laws and regulations in terms of our own charter and statute, we have the ability to do this here locally. We just need our elected officials to match the will of the people and do it expeditiously.
Mm-hmm. With tobacco companies continuing to target vulnerable populations, how do you balance the need for immediate action with long-term vision of tobacco cessation and prevention?
Yeah. I think once again, historically, I think people need to understand the intentional marketing of the tobacco industry. So let me just real quickly in the 50s, in the early 50s, I'm gonna say the African American and Latino community in particular, less than 5% of African Americans at that time smoked menthol tobacco. And then with the intentional targeted marketing, we saw that number rise, over the years from 5% to 15% to 42% to now, some of that data that I mentioned to you earlier, 88% of African Americans who smoke menthol tobacco. 70% of those who identify as Hispanic or Latino smoke menthol tobacco. So that intentional marketing has had a tremendous effect on our psychological, our being, and on the health and welfare of our community, to the point where as though they have bamboozled our culture. Mm-hmm. Some of the tobacco industry tactics have been to give money, financial dollars, to civic organizations, to buy their silence, to make it seem as if they're a responsible business and they care about our welfare, where people know that they don't, and they are primarily goal is to make dollars or putting profit over health. So what we're doing in terms of our long-gone goal is to prevent. Let's start at both sides of the bookshelf. Let's prevent youth from ever starting, and also let's help those who want to quit to quit. And come alongside them, because of the fact, as I mentioned earlier, it is hard, and science shows that it takes 7 to 9 times or more, to quit, successfully. And the point of having the legislation, going back to our other conversation, was that in terms of the policies and the laws, it's not enough just to have the individual behavior change take place. The environment has to change as well to support the individual change in behaviors. And we know that there's a direct correlation in terms of the systemic and the structural, issues that we talked about in terms of the social disparities and the health outcomes of our community.
Yes. Well, to our audience, we're here with Stan Martin from Stan Martin Consulting, LLC, and he leads an anchor organization called No Menthol Buffalo. That's right. We're here at Sin Fronteras, Western New York, 88.7 FM, HD3 WBFO. And to our listeners, we're here with Stan Martin. Looking ahead, where do you see No Menthol Buffalo and Stan Martin Consulting in the next 5 or 10 years?
Wow. In the next 5 or 10 years, I see us standing alongside the Hispanic Heritage Council.
And other organizations.
That's right, and other organizations. Seriously, though, standing shoulder to shoulder to, once again, to address these enduring health disparities, that, plague, our community, that has impacted our community. So when you talk about, diabetes, when you talk about addressing lung cancer and, breast cancer and, creating a healthier space, promoting access to food and nutrition, just other issues. I see us, being holistic, in our approach. And because this isn't a silo, a silo, and our people aren't monolithic. So, I see us as like this is a launching pad to something much larger and something much bigger in terms of creating social norm change, systemic change and structural change that's necessary in order for we to be, the great city and the great community that we are.
What are some of your other partners that you have in the city of Buffalo that are working alongside with you on this initiative?
Right. Yeah. I really pride myself on reaching across the aisle. I like to say across Main Street to community-based organizations that sometimes with a little bit of seed funding do some great work. So just to name a few, we work with Project Mona's House, who work with young girls, teenage girls, in terms of once again amplifying their voices surrounding this issue. Working with, like I mentioned earlier, the Buffalo Public Schools and, adopting and, wrapping our arms around, several of them. Looking at building and strengthening our relationship, with the West Side Development Community Center and the Father Bell Center, partnering with the Buffalo Center of Health Equity, ABC advertising builds character. A lot of grassroots civic, organizations that are really committed to rolling up their sleeves, putting their hands in the ground, planting some seeds, ensuring that, they're creating a nurturing environment for, our children to grow, live, and thrive.
Health institutions as well, faith-based.
A lot of faith-based, or I should say, leaders that we've worked with, and in particular, I'll be remiss if I didn't mention Pastor Nicholas, as well as Reverend Mark Blue from the NAACP, Kaiser Pointer as well. And we're looking at developing other partnerships that will help support. There's an initiative called No Menthol Sunday, that's held every year during the during the month of May. That we're looking to work with those pastors, those leaders, to encourage and encourage their council, their congregation, whether it's to quit for a day or to make that quit attempt, and also to encourage their businesses, those surrounding businesses around those places of worship, to not to sell, tobacco products, either for that day or depending upon where we are with our legislation, our policy, menthol. So we're really trying to have a no wrong door, no missed opportunity in terms of our partnerships, as well as strengthening our relationship with the LGBTQ community and those organizations as well.
Yeah, legislation and policy are very important, but how do you plan to advocate for policy changes to be able to affect the work that you're doing?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the piece right there. In terms of the awareness, the education, the mobilization of those with that lived experience, those with the knowledge, the context experience. We're partnering with Roswell, as we talked about earlier. They bring the data, utilizing that science and that data in a real meaningful way that put faces. I was just at an event last Sunday, lung cancer event, honoring the lives that were lost, but also those that are living with cancer, as well. So putting a face to this particular health issue is important. And then once again, having that bidirectional conversation with the elected officials is critical as well. So it's not a one size fits all, but it's a recipe. Whereas all of those strategies, those interventions, for lack of a better term, need to work in concert with one another simultaneously. So that's critical.
So you take a lot of trips to Albany. Huh?
Well, I might not take a lot of trips to Albany, but I think that being in Albany on Legislative Day, talking with our elected officials who are in Albany when they're here, in town, making sure that they're aware of the work, making sure that they're aware of more importantly, what their constituents, are saying surrounding this issue. And then, once again, just continue to, share information and and have dialogue that, keeps this issue, this matter up front and center.
How's the response from the legislators?
Yeah, I mean,
both on state, city, local level.
Right. Yeah, as you mentioned, this is controversial. For some folks, it's complex. And some elected official, I would just say that, they don't want to touch it. They say that, well, this isn't something that we can do. And yet all the evidence, I said, well, show me the evidence that says that you can't do this. Because what I'm showing and what we're sharing with our elected officials, all of the evidence shows that this is something that they can do. So we've requested meetings with the city attorneys. Our information comes from the Public Health Law Center. It's not something that we've just pulled off the shelf or we just went in the back room and made up. No, it's fact check, it's scientific, and this is something that, once again, I say that we need our elected officials at every level, city, county, and state, not to run away from the fire, but to run towards the fire because people are dying.
What are some of the strategies that have proven most effective to engage the community and its people?
Yeah, I mean, really, Buffalo, I like to kid around and say that we only get 90 days of summer. So figure it out, June, July, and August. So, being in the community, being present, having those conversations, even those difficult conversations, building that rapport, building, like doing what you say you're going to do. Because, Buffalo's an old town, old city, what have you. Mm-hmm. You might only get one shot, one chance, and that'll be your lasting impression. So I would say definitely, being in the community, being present, being responsible and accountable is golden. And then in addition to that, amplifying those voices. People need to hear from those trusted messengers. Individuals like yourself, other individuals who caring adults, whether it's a teacher or a coach or a librarian. But more importantly, having those trusted voices, amplifying, those voices, those lived experiences, are has been, beneficial, because now people are able to, connect the face, put a face, put a a name, with the mission, not just, my name, or not just, those who've been involved with tobacco control for another years, but someone who they actually know.
Folks want to get involved with the movement. How do they get a hold of you? And
Definitely.
you have a website? Do you,
yeah,
you
definitely.
work out of an office?
Yeah, definitely. In terms of getting involved, and people can visit our website. They can go to nomentholbflo.org. Once again, that's nomentholbflo.org, and they can sign up to be a part of No Menthol Buffalo. They can take action. We have a call to action on our website where people fill out a form letter. That form letter goes directly to the mayor as well as your council person. It will show show them, him or her, or they, that you support, ending the sale of menthol tobacco. And then also they can contact me at 716-393-2808. Once again, that's 716-293-2808.
And you're part of events and activities in the community. Do you have special events, press conferences?
Definitely. We wow. I mean, like, I just was joking around about the number of events that we were at this summer, but certainly in terms of to follow Stan Martin Consulting, we have information on my website. That's stanmartinconsulting.com. Once again, stanmartinconsulting.com. And there's events on on my particular website that talks about some of the upcoming events and things that people can get involved in.
Yeah, and you travel around the city, you see a lot of billboards,
right,
and see a lot of signage on bus stops and what have you. It shows that the movement is active,
right,
and the outreach is there.
And I want to give a shout out, to you and your organization. You all were very instrumental in us making sure that our billboards, were available in English as well as in Spanish. We've had billboards also, or I should say posters, at bus shelters, as well. So making sure that those were, in both available in English and in Spanish, and also our other materials, and some of the social data, information as well. Making sure that that's available in both English and Spanish, because some of our listeners might not be aware that, menthol tobacco itself, it creates, it impacts over 43,000 lives, in terms of cancer-related illnesses. Over 18,000 lives are lost, in the Hispanic Latino community as a result of menthol tobacco use.
And those are national numbers?
Yes, those are national. Those are national numbers. But when you look at New York State itself, over 70% of those who identify as Hispanic or Latino, we don't have the numbers for the city of Buffalo yet, but we know in terms of for New York State, over 70% who identify as Hispanic or Latino smoke menthol tobacco. So, these are issues, and over half of our youth in the Hispanic and Latino community start because of menthol tobacco. So, once again, to my earlier comment, if we can prevent something from starting, if we can protect our youth from ever becoming the next generation of tobacco users, why wouldn't we? It's incumbent upon us as parents, as caring adults, as my brother's keeper, that we share this information, and that not only that we share this information, but we look out for one another, in this regard. So, this is totally preventable. This is something that impacts both our communities, and this is something that, in my opinion, as I said earlier, people are making it more complex than what it is.
Yeah. There's different types. There's the menthol. There's the vaping. There's hookah. You didn't mention hookah.
Yeah,
where's hookah?
Well, certainly. Hookah isn't a part of our particular mission, but it also does have some harmful effects as well. But to your point about vaping, vaping has been promoted as a safer alternative. And when
Alternative to smoking.
Alternative to smoking.
And
However,
it does the same harm.
It causes exactly. Is there really a safe level of vaping? That's just like one of those trick questions.
I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, is there a safe level of exposure, to cigarette smoke? Okay, no. However, this is what we do know, that in terms of our youth in particular, their bodies, their brains are still developing. It makes it difficult for youth to, concentrate in class or in school. It exacerbates other respiratory illnesses, asthma and et cetera. And then when in terms of with adults, some of the research that's out today actually show that people are not only vaping, but they're also smoking at the same time. And what people don't or aren't aware of, that many of the vapes have more nicotine in them, up to 2,000 puffs, per vape or what have you. And so with that, someone is constantly, vaping or having nicotine enter to their body. I've heard stories of people sleeping with their vape, or with their electronic device under their pillow. These are real stories. So if you're constantly, or you're addicted to this particular device, and you're addicted, to utilizing nicotine, and then it's being promoted as a safer alternative. Is it really a safe alternative? Is it really? So we have to continue to, and then the research out there is still, they're still studying it. So, and I when I look at the history of the tobacco industry, there was a point in time where they said that cigarette smoking didn't cause cancer. Mm-hmm. It wasn't harmful to your health. It wasn't dangerous. They promoted it as a part of, if you had asthma, it will open up your bronchial system, what have you. You know what I'm saying? Me, in my experience, in terms of 20 years of being involved in public health, that I think it's just a matter of time before they come out and say that, vaping is actually hazardous to your health. That's what I believe.
They haven't confirmed that, but
right,
that's definitely,
Mm-hmm. And like I said, when we look at how it's impacting our youth, the fastest growing population is our middle school kids. We're starting to see some trends starting to go down with high school in terms of vaping, but the middle schoolers, are starting to vape and, utilize the products even more so. And what it is about the vapes, it's the flavors. It's the flavors. Flavors are it's the flavor that attracts, addicts, and kills and destroys. So and here in New York State, it's flavored e-cigarettes. It's illegal. It's illegal to sell flavored vapes here in New York State.
It's illegal,
right?
But it's still done.
But it's still done. You can walk into any vape shop, all right, on the east and west side of Buffalo, and you can purchase a flavored vape. Why is that? That's unacceptable. So it's those type of, issues, that social justice issues that continue to exacerbate health conditions for Black and brown communities and for marginalized communities.
The sources where the vaping mechanism comes from is the same source where the cigarettes come from. Well,
the source is the tobacco industry.
Okay.
But the vape, in terms of how you use the vapes, is a heated nicotine.
Okay.
What have you. But still going back to the promotion of it as being a safer alternative. And here's the psyche in terms of marketing. And think about this. Like when we were kids, all right, most kids, they say, I can't wait till I become an adult. I can't wait to get older. And now it's being marketed as well, this is for adults. This is not for kids. Mm. But kids hear something differently. Kids hear something, if I'm going to be an adult, then this is what adults do. Mm. And they're going to push that envelope. So that's just, in my opinion, in terms of looking at some of the marketing and some of the tactics. And that's what we try to counter market it by building awareness, by educating our youth, educating the community overall, and also giving voice. countering the advertising and marketing tactics, of the industry so that, people are making an informed decision and that, they're taking control of their lives.
You're listening to Sin Fronteras, Western New York, 88.7 WBFO HD3. And we have a special guest here today, Stan Martin from Stan Martin Consulting, that leads the efforts in No Menthol Buffalo. Can you, for our audience, once again, give your website and your phone number and folks that would like to find out more information regarding the No Menthol initiative?
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. To please visit our website at nomentholbflo.org. That's nomentholbflo.org. And you can find out more information about No Menthol Buffalo, and you can also take action on this particular initiative, this topic. Also, if you want to get involved, please contact me at area code 716-393-2808. Once again, 716-393-2808. And I'll be happy to, have a conversation with you and get you involved with some of the great work that we're doing surrounding awareness, education, and et cetera.
That's great, Stan. Thanks very much for coming in, Stan. Anything else you would like to share with our audience?
Yeah, I want to thank you and the team at Hispanic Heritage Council for the great work that you all do. And also for those who are listening, if you want to quit and, you're looking to, stop smoking, please contact the New York State Smokers Quit line. We're very fortunate to have them here in our backyard. It's housed over at Roswell Park Comprehensive Cancer Institute. That number is 1-866-NY-QUITS. That's 1-866-NY-QUITS. They have information there that's available for those in terms of menthol use or tobacco use overall. And you may be eligible for some free nicotine replacement therapy or products such as the lozenges, the gum, the patch, and proactive counseling.
And those are live folks that answer the phone.
Absolutely.
What's the number again?
1-866-NY-QUITS, 1-866-NY-QUITS.
And that's right out of Roswell Park.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. Well, you've been listening to Sin Fronteras, Western New York, WBFO 88.7 HD3. And our special guest today has been Stan Martin from Stan Martin Consulting with a initiative called No Menthol Buffalo. Thank you very much for coming, Stan.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much to Stan Martin for your time and for educating us on this very pressing need in our communities. Next up, as I mentioned, we're going to hear from two brand new voices on Sin Fronteras. This is always exciting. They're part of our production staff, but now they're stepping out into the limelight. They're getting in front of the microphone, and they'll be exploring the vibrant connections between generations and culture and what it's like being Latina in today's world. This is Sheana, Virella, VanDyne, and Dinorah Baines. Please enjoy Generaciones con Sin Fronteras.
Bienvenidos. Welcome to the first episode of Generaciones con Sin Fronteras. I'm your host, Sheana Virella VanDyne, here with my amazing co-host, Dinorah Baines. We are so excited to kick off this journey with you.
Hola, mi gente. That's right, Sheana. This show is a place where we dig deep into what it means to be a Latina, not just today, but across generations. We're exploring how different aspects of our life impact us, whether it's family, careers, culture, love, or identity, and how our experiences differ or intersect through the eyes of our abuelas, madres, hijas, hermanas.
Exactly. Our mission here on Generaciones con Sin Fronteras is to bridge the gaps between generations of Latinas by sharing our stories, challenges, and triumphs. We want to highlight the rich diversity of perspectives within our community, while also shedding light on the ways we're connected by our shared history and culture.
That's right. Every episode, we'll be bringing you conversations about life from two unique generational standpoints. I'll be sharing the wisdom and stories from my mother and myself as a Latina from a different era. Sheana will bring her own family experiences to the table, her niece, herself, and her mother.
Yes. And, just for this first episode, it's just simply an intro. We just wanted to take a moment to introduce ourselves, of course, tell you what we're all about, and give you a taste of what's to come. So let's go.
Yeah. And I guess I'll go first. A little bit about my background. As you guys already know, my name is Dinorah Baines. But my maiden name is Dinorah Santos. That is my mother's name. And my mother was born in Ponce, Puerto Rico, and I have a lot of family still there. I have a lot of family actually in New Jersey, Atlantic City, where I was born. And I came to Buffalo around 2 years old. So my mom actually came to, I don't know, the mainland, because Puerto Rico is the U.S. So it doesn't, I don't ever sound right saying, we came to the United States, because Puerto Rico is still part of the United States. But she left Puerto Rico when she was a teenager. Okay. And then because we had family in, I believe, New Jersey. And because that's how people tend to migrate. Mm-hmm. They know a brother, a family member saying, hey, why don't you come over here where I'm at? So she came, and then she met my father, and she had me and my two other siblings, my older brother and my sister. And then then she moved to Buffalo. And we did have family at that time. And in Buffalo is where she had my little sister. So it was 4 of us. And so she came to Buffalo. She actually got her GED because she had to drop out of college, high school, but she got her GED in, I think, Atlantic City. But she came to Buffalo, and she told me how coming to Buffalo was something that she was happy to do because of all the opportunities that Buffalo provided a single mother.
Oh, awesome.
With 4 kids. And a lot of supports, where she then was able to not only succeed or move up in her career, she then went to EOC and got her certificates, and she was able to get a better job. All that saying that even she still made sure that her children, while we weren't born in Puerto Rico, she made sure that we still knew our culture. So Spanish was my first language. Spanish was mostly all of our first language, me and my siblings, but English is my primary language now, is what I prefer to speak, even though it's not perfect, but I prefer to speak English now. But Spanish was our first language, but I still know how to read, write, and speak in Spanish. And she made sure, when other friends of mine other backgrounds, they talk about, hip hop, and they'll bring up old artists that I should know because of, my age. And I'm like, well, I didn't grow up listening to that person or that hip hop artist until later on in my life. Because I'll tell them, I was listening to Spanish music. I was listening to reggaeton, because reggaeton had a big impact on hip-hop, and the other way around. And hip-hop had a big impact on reggaeton. But I was listening to that, and I was listening to my mom's Spanish music. And the shows, even with that, I was watching, what is the name? Luz Clarita.
Oh, yeah, I remember Luz Clarita. Yes, that was my abuela's favorite novela.
Yes.
Yes, and Cleaning on Sundays to Mark Anthony. Yeah. And, yep, we're very, very similar. I love that. I didn't know that about you. So that is a great glimpse, and you're going to invite your mom on, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Awesome. Yeah, so we'll get to hear right from her and her story and her journey also about, how she did such a great job with you too, Dinorah. So Dinorah and I actually, we are on the Hispanic Heritage Council board together. So we are directors, and that's something that is very important in our lives. And, just sharing our culture and also learning about other Hispanic cultures and also preserving that history.
Yes,
right here in
absolutely.
Buffalo.
Yep. But I've spoken so much about myself. Now we want to hear a little bit about you, Sheana.
So I'm a no sabo. Yes, I'm a no sabo Latina. I know it's terrible to say, but I try. And my pronunciation, in Spanish will not be perfect, but I will try. And I understand a lot of it. It's just I was a very stubborn child. You can ask my mother, but my mother also came here from Puerto Rico. So she was from a small countryside called Sidra. And my dad also came here from Puerto Rico. He was from Ponce. and they migrated here. I had the opportunity, same thing, of Bethlehem Steel and Lackawanna brought my family here, and they were able to build many generations from that. So we are rooted off of just what you said, off of work, opportunity, and also some workforce development. So that's kind of what led my life into also working in the nonprofit world and workforce development, kind of seeing that journey just like your mom took from starting off at EOC with her GED, taking advantage of, you know, the training programs that were available here in Buffalo, and then being able to raise generations of Latinas and Latinos like you and your brothers and sisters. It was very similar for my brother and I, just bringing us up in that working culture of, you know, we're going to, you know, do better than our parents did. So awesome. Yeah, so I'm very, very excited for this show. I think it's going to bring up a lot of topics that impact not only the different generations, but also Latinas in our area. So we're going to talk to Latinas not only locally, but also nationwide.
Yes, yeah. And I think a nice part that we're going to be talking about is just like our lives can be just very similar to others who may not be Latinas, but it still shapes us as Latinas, and we want to come from a Latina lens,
exactly,
in how this experience in the U.S.
Beautiful. All right, so that was just a small glimpse of what you'll hear from us. So our segment will be airing about once a month right here on WBFO. And why don't you tell everyone how they can listen to us, Dinorah?
You could tune in to Sin Fronteras of Western New York every Saturday at 10 a.m. at WBFO 88.7 HD3 Radio or on popular podcasts.
Muchas gracias. Thank you so much for tuning in and joining us today on Generaciones con Sin Fronteras.
And that about does it for Sin Fronteras Western New York. We hope you enjoyed this episode. As always, if you'd like to reach our production staff with any comments, concerns, suggestions for interviews or topics that we should discuss, please reach us at sinfronteraswny@gmail.com. Again, on behalf of Casimiro Rodríguez, Sheana, Virella, VanDyne, Dinorah, Baines, thank you to our guests. Thank you to Stan Martin. And we'll hopefully see you all next week. Hasta luego.